People are talking about the ratings for Major League Baseball and Game 7 and the ratings for the NBA Game 7. And the MLB was 26.6 million, NBA was 16.6. And I guess if you were using the same metrics, okay, Major League Baseball was more popular than Game 7. But I don't understand how they do their metrics, because I don't believe that they can truly explain how they do their metrics. They can explain it, but it changes all the time, and I think there are gray areas so they can juice or make things look worse. Like when there's 48 million people that watch the Super Bowl, how do you know that? How? So do you have cameras on every single TV and you're like, oh, there's 20 people here. Well, times this one times 20. How do you know that? Or 28 million TVs had it on. Does a phone count? Does a computer count? Is it just a screen? Do you know the illegal stuff where they're streaming it illegally, or they have a VPN on where you like I don't understand their rating system because I don't believe they do. Like when there was just an antenna and you had 6-8 channels max, I understand how you could more easily tabulate that. But with all the streaming services, then someone like me still has the rabbit ears, the antenna. Then you have cable. And then you have God knows what else, however you can do it. Like, how do you get these numbers and make it accurate? Because I know they've changed stuff over the years. And does it count if I'm just flipping through and I'm on it for 5 seconds? If I come back and watch it, does that count as 2? If I go back and forth, does that count as like 50? Is there a certain amount of time? Again, I have no idea because I think that they change them all the time so they can pump up numbers and kind of manipulate. Because that's what sports guys do. They take stats they want to take. They don't take stats that don't make their point. And they can take their narrative and make the stats fit versus just taking the stats and then coming up with what the stats are telling you. And that's kind of my problem with science and the medical fields and medicine. Because science, in my lifetime, eggs have been good and bad like 4 or 5 times. I'm not even 40 yet. Yet it's changed probably once a decade. And it's not like we're in the 1840s. Like, this is the 2000s. 2000. I'm sure eggs will be different again. Bacon, my dad made the comment. It's been good and bad for you multiple times. So, but that's science telling us that, and they say it like it's gold every single time, and that it's just the gospel truth, yet then they're like, hey, we were wrong. It's so good for you! And like they kind of, we were wrong. And then they say it like it's gospel truth again, but the exact opposite of what they did. And the same thing with the medical field and medicine. They perpetuated COVID longer than anyone. They told you have to wear a mask in our doctor's office when everybody knew that's a lie and it doesn't help. And my favorite thing that I was told, stopping COVID with one of those cloth masks is like stopping a mosquito with a chain link fence. And I was like, ooh, that's really good. That's really good. And then we had to have our masks on in the beginning, right after the pandemic started and everything, when I worked at the middle school. And this young man destroyed the ceiling tile in the room. Just threw stuff at it, broke it, got it down, started smashing it more, and the room was just filled with like dust. And this woman had a mask on, And she's coming out of the room just coughing, coughing. And she's like, I wonder if the mask works for COVID. It doesn't work for this stuff. And you can see it. The germs were way smaller. So just, we all knew it was a lie, but the medical field perpetuated said lie longer. And why? Money. So how can you believe and trust people that are willing to manipulate, willing to lie to get more money? How can you believe that? And it's not that I don't believe science. I don't believe medicine. I don't believe the scientist that's talking about said science, because they're doing just like what the sports guys do with the stats. They have their narrative that they want, and then they take what they want to fit their narrative versus just taking the science and then coming up with a hypothesis. Or taking studies or whatever in science and medicine and then coming up with a hypothesis. No, they're like, well, we want this to be true in medicine, so we'll say this, this, and this, and it will be true. So my example about medicine and how they just make crap up and they make it sound like it's the truth. I watch a young man who has a G-tube, which means that he has to be fed with liquid food through his stomach. I have a big syringe, and it has a hose down to it, and you turn it and it hooks in, and that's how you feed him. And for over a decade, he's had this, basically it's formula, and they come in 8-ounce jugs, and you give it to him. And he's had problems evacuating his bowels his whole entire life. He's been on multiple medicines for it. It did work, then it didn't work. He was getting really constipated and had to start giving him suppositories so he'd actually poop. And the doctor always told his mother and father, well, it's because of his diagnosis. Most people with his diagnosis, they're in wheelchairs, so they don't move around a lot. Like how we move around, we crush up the poop, so it actually moves through us. And he doesn't have that, so and they said that to them. I've heard it before when I went to the doctor with them, and they say it like it's a known fact. Like there's this study and that study and this study, and they've done their own study. Like, that's how they talk about it. Like, it's just a fact. Recently, his mother has gotten different food for him. Where it's it would basically be like you taking a whole bunch of food, putting it in a blender, putting a little water with it, making it pretty liquidy, and then that's how you feed him. And she is getting, there's a company that makes them, and you get little 10-ounce bags of them, and then you feed it to him. So he's pooping like 4 times in one day now. So I went up to his mother and father and told him that the doctors are liars. And they both kind of looked at me like, what? I was like, they have told you guys for over a decade that the reason that he can't poop is because of his food. Or because of his diagnosis, not because of his food. Diagnosis. And the fact that he's in a wheelchair, because apparently people in wheelchairs with his diagnosis, they just feed this crap to him that it's because of that, and that's why they can't poop. And come to find out, it has nothing to do with his diagnosis, because I asked his mother facetiously, has his diagnosis changed? And she's like, no. I was like, has he started getting up and walking and moving around a lot more? And she's like, no. I'm like, well, then obviously the doctor's full of crap. Because it has nothing to do with his diagnosis, being in a wheelchair. It's all about what he puts in his body. And his mom and dad were like, oh, you're right. Huh. Because they've been fed that his whole entire life. He's now 17. It's been well over a decade that the doctors have been just feeding him this crap. And I know exactly why. Because if the doctor said that it's the food causing constipation, what's going to happen? Insurance isn't going to want to pay for that food. That company will actually have to look at their product, see what is causing him to be constipated and for others to be constipated. And then they'll have to do research, money. They'll have to change the formula, money. So all this is about the doctor making money for companies and not screwing up the insurance and having them to do more. So that's my big thing about science and medicine. They say it like it's the gospel truth, yet it always changes. Always. So that's why when they're talking about global warming, well, they don't even say global warming, climate change. And I've heard people, like, you don't hear them say global warming anymore. They say climate change, and you really can't argue with that because, of course, the climate is changing all the time. And do I believe that we are affecting this earth? Yeah. With what we put into it? Yes. But are we doing it to where it's just going to make the world blow up and it no longer exists and we're kind of like, uh-oh, we just destroyed the world? No. We're going to be long gone before this earth is long gone. We just are. Me being a lifeguard for 7 summers, CPR changed 4 times in 7 years. And this was after the year 2000. It's, again, not in the 1850s. This is after the year 2000. CPR changed 4 times in 7 summers. I get that, okay, it changed 1 time, but 4 times? That's every other year it's changing. Is that just so you can charge money for classes? Is that what it's for? So, well, you have to take recertification classes because it's changed. Well, so we can get more money from you, you have to take this class because it's changed. Is that what it's all about? I guess more money, more money, more money. And when people, like, I have a really hard time believing science because of scientists. They're liars. They act like something is the gospel truth, and they're simply making it up. Or the study that they referred to says this, but they know that the study was flawed to make their hypothesis true, not to find out the truth. And I have a hard time with medicine and science because it's gotten so big and so much money is involved that they're willing to do and say whatever to get more money. And it comes down to this, like it does in most of my videos. This world is becoming ungodly, and we're worshiping money. Our false idol is money. And most people think of false idols as like a statue or something that you're bowing down to. It's money. It can be an idea. The idea of making more money, you are beholden to that. And that does everything to shape who you are, what you say, what you do. And that's very scary. To be that beholden to something that isn't the Lord, my God, Jesus. Because He wants what's best for you. Ask Him into your life. Money won't mean as much. You can have money. That's okay. You can have tons of nice stuff. That's okay. But to be beholden to it and it controls you. Because people know about drugs and alcohol and them controlling you and you have an addiction, but they don't think about the addiction that is the addiction to money. So, try to wean yourself off of greed.